Good evening, everyone, and welcome to AGA Sessions 05, where we speak to people at their home. Today's guest is Creative Director of Alexandra Miro, a clothing brand. And
Hi,
Hi, Alex. Hi.
how are you?
How- I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good.
Nice to meet you, even
Yeah,
if it's
finally. Yes,
yeah.
we've been following each other for a while, so it's great
Yes,
to
I
put
see.
it.
I've always admired your work. So
Thank you very much. Likewise. So, Alex, thanks very much for joining us. Let's start by, could you tell us a bit about your business, the projects that you design, where do you sell them, and who are your typical clients?
okay, so Alexandra Miro is a clothing brand, but it's predominantly a swim and resort wear brand. And we launched the label in March 2017. We sell worldwide now, actually. Our biggest markets are Europe and America. And it's difficult to say exactly who the Alexandra Miro customer is because it's impossible to know. But I mean, from what I understand of the women who I see wearing the pieces, they're very strong, powerful, confident women who want to make a statement. When they're traveling, they're well traveled. They travel a lot. They are, yeah. There's a certain type of women, and they are a confident woman, I would say.
Great, cool. Can you tell us a bit about your design process
Mm-hmm.
and has it changed since lockdown? And did you have to adapt your space to work from home?
Well, the first part of the question, the design process is a process that I'm always seeking inspiration. So I will be always looking around me, looking at art when I travel and what's happening in the wider fashion, with more international designers, because Alexandra Miro is very inspired by mainline fashion. We do, I would say that's what differentiates the label between a lot of swimwear brands. We're not just producing a bog standard bikini or swimsuit. We're looking for interesting shapes, and so we're always looking, whether that even be architecture actually, because a lot of the silhouettes are quite sculptural,
Yeah, yeah, they
and
are.
quite, you can probably tell as a designer that they're quite inspired by art and architecture as much as
Yeah,
fashion. And so all around me, I'm always getting bits of information that are going to help me, design collections. So that can be, very, very widespread. I mean, I would say that there's been quite a lot of chat with. Sorry, I hope I just had a phone
yeah,
call
you're
there.
back. Yeah,
With being confined, where your creative process is somewhat, well, it's much more
constrained.
challenging because
Yeah,
you're not exposed to those influences that you are normally. And luckily, in terms of like designing collections, I tend to design more from September to December, because that's just when the season for swimwear, you know, that's when we need to design a collection. So it's quite lucky actually, because I would struggle at the moment to design new collections, because I'm
yeah,
not exposed to the outside stimuli that I usually would be. Even though you can look on the internet and you can be inspired by many things, but when you're stuck in your house, it's a lot more challenging, I would say.
yeah. So how has the fashion industry been affected by the crisis? Obviously, there are no fashion shoots going on or fashion shows. So has
I mean,
that been a has
we've
that been
we've been very adversely affected. You know, we haven't been able to do shoots. I mean, I can only speak from, you know, my brand, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that. You know, we produce in Portugal and in India, and we will essentially have to skip out next season because our samples have not got to us in time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, especially in my sector, because it's so reliant on people being able to travel, and we don't know what travel is going to be like essentially in the coming months. I mean, I'm hoping that people will have free movement again, but who knows? And that's been challenging for myself because of just the sector we're in. But I think fashion has been affected, but I think in many ways there's been a lot of positives as well. I think people are going to become a lot more conscious about how they consume, and as much as I like fast fashion, I think people have to be more conscious in what they buy and their attitudes towards yes, probably over consuming.
Yep. Good point. So going back to your design process, and especially because we're speaking to people and seeing how they're working now from home.
Yes.
Have you had to adapt anything in your house?
Well, I've had to adapt to water being in the house, shouting, which is so important. But, I mean, it's been, no, not really, because I've always worked from home, and my home is very conducive to working. I mean, I live in a very green, leafy suburb, and I've always loved working from home. And I feel, I think people are going I think people in general are going to start working more from home. I think they're going to realize, you know, the traditional office space is not, it might become quite redundant for many people, because actually when you work from home, I mean, yes, you can get distracted, and I'm not saying that you won't be distracted, but you know, you're in your own space, and that's a real source of comfort, especially for me. I don't know about for you. And you know, and I think with the way that, you know, with our communications now, it's much easier for people to interact as we're doing, or on Zoom calls, or sorry, I'm just having a glass of wine. It's 8:30.
That's all right.
Yeah, so
I've got water.
yes,
yeah,
I think that yeah. How are you finding working from home? Do you have a practice, or?
Yes, so we have a studio in North London in Archway, and we've been all at home for 8 weeks or so. It's been okay. We're kind of enjoying being at home and surrounded by the family, and but I do sometimes I miss the fast internet in the office. So I think at home we're struggling with homeschooling and Netflix and all that.
And your children?
Sorry?
How old are your children?
15 and 9. So
not super young. I mean, young.
Yeah. I mean, but obviously it has its positive sides. But I guess because we're also in the creative industry, and I've got my colleagues, and especially at the early stages, I think it has its benefits if you're face to face with someone. But yeah, like you said, the technology is there, and it allows us to collaborate. Do you think the crisis will have an effect on trends, or will it influence your designs in any way?
I mean, that's an
Or,
interesting question, because obviously it's going to have an effect. It's going to have a worldwide effect, and it's interesting what kind of mood we will have after you know, we're obviously through the peak of it now, and what people's mood and appetite will be like. Or they want to be more restrained in their fashion choices, or they want to be more flamboyant and out there with what they choose to wear. I mean, that's an interesting question as to, but you know, we designed our new collection, which is going to be launching in January. So it's difficult. We designed this collection pre the virus, and I feel like the new collection that we'll be launching in January is very strong, and it's going back to the original aesthetic of what Alexandra Miro was actually all about, which is these strong, powerful silhouettes, which is really what I feel is synonymous with my brand. And who knows whether that's going to be what the appetite of my customer will be. But I think, you know, you can be influenced by what's going on around you, but you still have to do something that has authenticity and integrity, and in keeping with you know, where the direction of the brand is going. So
yeah, that's true.
yeah.
Thank you, Alex. Just to everyone, if you have any questions for Alex, you can type them below. Do you have any advice for people working creatively at home at the moment, who might be feeling maybe slightly anxious, maybe a bit low in terms of their creativity?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really tricky one. I think that creativity is something that comes in cycles, and it's not something that you can tell somebody, you know. It's a very difficult thing to advise, because even myself, you know, I don't always feel creative. Even not during the crisis, there's times I think, "Ooh, I'm just having, you know, like a writer's block." And I think you just have to have the mindset of having acceptance, and perhaps just accepting that you're not always going to be in that creative, you know, state of mind, and be happy with that, or not be happy with that, but be accepting of that. Yeah, that would be my advice, because I think that once people are out of confinement and they are, you know, open, they are able to maybe do the things that they used to do, their eyes will just be so much more open, and they'll just be so much more aware of what is around them, and all the influences around them, and how that affects them creatively. I did my house up recently. I mean, I did a big renovation, and
I remember, yeah.
it's a very
How was the experience for you?
you know, we had a very clear, I think it's a very, very emotional experience, you know, and very personal process. When you're basically, we knocked we didn't knock it down, we kept the four walls, but essentially we ripped everything out, and rebuilt it from scratch. So it was it's an interesting interesting project, and quite quite difficult, actually.
can you imagine doing it now in lockdown?
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Stay safe,
And you. And
and I
hope
look forward
hope,
to seeing your designs.
thank you, Amos.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.